I'm doing it again. I think that's everything. Oh, okay. I'm resigned to the fact.
All right, good evening, all, and welcome to the licensing committee meeting, and of course, the time is 7 precisely. I would like to welcome our new members of the committee. Andreas Ioannidis, welcome, Andrea. And the other ones is the additional members. I would like to thank you for coming up this evening. And we go first in the agenda with the minutes of the previous meeting. Do we all agree?
Yeah.
Right, and item number 2 is apologies for members.
With apologies from Councillor Lisa Watson, who's unwell, and apologies from Councillor Susa.
Thank you very much indeed. Declaration of members, personal individual request. Thank you. Item number 4 for the question time. Item number 5, members' items. Okay. One thing that I have to mention, members, is one of the favors, unfortunately, by mistake, has not been sent to you, and I hope that it's been circulated. And that is the one of the fees. Yeah? It's already got it out there before the game. So, it's not this, unfortunately, it's a mention of our part, and we usually apologize.
Sorry. Did you say the main thing?
Picked up that one.
The biggest one. Oh, the biggest one. No, this one.
Sorry about
All
that.
right? No worries. But the rest of the members, they have got the fees, they know what to do.
No, I've got
That's
the.
right. And in view of this, what we'll take that as the last item on the agenda. Do you agree? Thank you. This makes sense. Okay, right. And then we go straight to item number 6, and that is gambling statement of principles. And it's going to be presented to us by Michelle. Sorry, Michelle, sorry.
Please forgive me, Councillor.
Yes.
It's the first time I've actually been drafted into the movie, so
Yes.
I've been nominated. So basically, the gambling statement of principles is backing for obviously revisions. Essentially, as shown on pages numbers 46 to 49 of the paperwork, there have been some minor amendments made to the existing policy. Anything that's actually deleted, or which states has been deleted, has either been inserted elsewhere within the policy, or indeed was duplicated somewhere else within it. So there's nothing really that is taken from the original documents itself. We have actually inserted additional pieces of information in line with some of the suggestions that have been made in the proposed new guidance from the Gambling Commission. But the main insertion there is actually shown on page 47 and goes across into page 48 and 49. And essentially that was with regards to the licensing objectives. I think the licensing team very much felt that more information could actually be inserted within those sections, enabling obviously anyone that's reading it more guidance with regards to those elements of the legislation. And so really, this is the proposal that we're hoping to put forward for the consultation.
Thank you. And Councillor Corotton. Thank you.
Yes, I'm awfully sorry because I didn't put my own paper. I can't find where I wrote it. So I'm speaking a bit from memory. I noted that when the paper was talking about protection in terms of vulnerable people and identifying those vulnerable people, it also mentioned people that perhaps had their own addiction, if you like. I mean, it's not quite how they phrased it, but that's what it boiled down to. Well, I can understand that you can identify a person with special needs, a child, the people that we identify as vulnerable. But if you're just a person with an unfortunate habit, I don't see how that could be enforceable. And I don't see the point ever in any kind of paper of having something in it that you can't actually actually enforce. And also, we're all entitled to go to hell our own way if we want to. You know, people that should, and what I'm trying to say is that people that need protection, which is what we normally would call vulnerable, of course, but thank you, John.
Yeah, I think it's partly to do with the people that have gambling addiction can choose to self-exclude from premises and basically, whether it works, but they can choose to, and it is a scheme that some people do want to take, and it is supported by the vetting premises to help them with the self-exclusion.
Oh yes, I
So
would
that
understand
kind of
if so in other words, if they go to a premises and say, help me, I really don't
I've
know
got
how
a
to
problem, if you stop
it.
me, throw me out sort of thing, yes. So it's that kind of protection.
Shame me out.
Yes.
May I add a little comment?
Excuse me.
Excuse
Can
me.
you please put the
Yeah,
mics
kind of
on?
please.
We can't hear.
Well, yes, nobody will want to hear what I've got to say anyway.
Oh, yes, we will.
Well, it's just a little comment to follow on from this, which is relevant. Ladies, please listen. In Spain, I won't quote you a Spanish saying, but I'll put it in English. Better a philanderer than a gambler. Because a philanderer, well, he comes home. But no, whereas a gambler, you have purity. And will, I suppose, as counsellors, I know one or two cases, really sad cases of men who've driven their poor wives mad. Even spent their wedding ring, and they're obsessed. So I don't see how you can keep them out. Unless they've been convicted, perhaps, in some way, or there is some medical document saying this person shouldn't be allowed anywhere near where he can gamble. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it is for. Is you cannot stop people gambling, but it's generally just saying that we want vetting premises to support those people that do want to self-exclude and say that they need help. So.
Councillor Fire.
On page 12, under interested parties, it's defining interested party, and includes an interested party who is living sufficiently close to premises to be likely to be affected by authorised activities. And I thought that had been taken out of the new act, that definition.
Is that when it comes to the licensing act rather than gambling?
Yeah, basically that licensing act has been changed.
Yeah.
Consultation
I
has
don't
changed.
know. No, I think they've changed the licensing act and the wording of interested party, etc. Within that, but within the gambling, that's actually still in place.
So you still need to live sufficiently close to premises to object for gambling, even though you may,
But essentially, that is still a requirement within.
So if I don't live, if I live in Burnt Oak, I want to object to a premises in Pricklewood, say, because I have a moral objection to gambling per se, I can't do that because I don't live close enough to it. That's
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't put a moral objection in particularly anyway. I mean, yes, but it would be, you would still have to show that you have an interest here. But I think the gambling, they are continually reviewing the gambling, because obviously they seem to be up at the moment for tweet one, and then they'll see how it works for one, and then if it works for the licensing, they'll change it for gambling. So I suspect if it works for licensing, we'll be here for the next policy talking about, well, not talking about interested parties.
Any other comments, questions? All right, thank you. You all agree?
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed. We move to the next item. Also, is going to be sex entertainment, radio licensing 2021, and it's going to be presented to us by Emma Daisy.
Right, okay. This report, unfortunately, isn't as exciting as it sounds, but basically we're looking for the committee to recommend that we like consultation on Section 27 of the Policing and Crime Act 2009. As it currently stands, if someone wants to have lap dancing or pole dancing club in Barnet, they have to get an authorisation under the Licensing Act, which means that people could only object to it on the grounds of the Licensing Act. So it is quite restricted, whereas if you wanted to have a sex cinema or sex shop currently, people could object on moral grounds or that it wasn't fitting in the area, but obviously those aren't grounded on the Licensing Act. So the government basically allowed local authorities to adopt this section of the Policing and Crime Act, so that sex entertainment venues, or dancing, can be licensed in the same way as sex cinemas. But it's entirely for each local authority to decide whether to adopt it or not. if, as it currently stands, so they have to have it under the Licensing Act, and there is restrictions on what grounds people can make representations. If we adopt Section 27, then it will run exactly the same as sex cinemas and sex shops, where it will be a much wider grounds of objection, basically. The only difference is, and the only power in the way we give up, if we do adopt Section 27, premises can hold a small number of occasional events a year without needing any authorisation, apart from having a licence under the Licensing Act, and they don't need to notify us of it. They will just be able to have these events. So there's a balance. There's more powers with adopting it, but we give up something slightly in the process. So the government, because they feel that this section is quite important and gives more local people more power, they said if we didn't adopt it within 12 months of the legislation, you had to go out to consultation to make sure that we took account of local residents. We haven't adopted it, so we now need to go out to local residents to say what they're saying, basically.
He was very good.
So it does. I mean, I suspect I'll be honest, I suspect most local residents will be in support of this, but I may be wrong. But most councils appear to have adopted it. There was a few in London that haven't, but most have, and most residents seem to do so.
Councillor Barry.
Let me just clarify, so if you adopt this, premises would be entitled to 11
Yes.
pence a year with no
Not
objection
tens,
at all?
they don't have occasion at the moment.
So even the least objection on the branch of county disorder?
No. So the way it stands at the moment, if they've got a premises, they can either apply for a premises and specify it's going to be for lap dancing, in which case the police can only object under the normal licensing objectives, or they can have a temporary event notice, and again the police could object. Now, if we adopt this, if they want to have a permanent lap dancing club, we have more control. But if, for example, a pub wants to have a lap dancing night, we have slightly less control in that they don't have to let us know the event is happening. They are just automatically allowed these authorisations. However, let's be honest, if the premises is doing this and it is causing problems under the Licensing Act, we still have powers to put reviews in or put pressure on them from the Licensing Act side, because they still need a licensing authorisation.
Can I just add something? Correct me if I'm wrong. In respect of that, obviously, if, say, they're using it under the permissions of a licence that's granted under the Licensing Act, they would need to have entertainment already existing on that licence for them to actually use it. If they didn't, they would still have to apply for a temporary event notice in the same way as they did with it. So, yeah.
Chairman. Councillor Gomez.
Are any type of shop or places who they have license at the moment?
No, we have no sex shops, no sex cinemas, and we currently have no lap dancing clubs. So, they're rather interesting. We had an email inquiry this morning about one. But at the moment we are not.
It's highly profitable, I'm surprised there aren't any. But for instance, just suppose they put in some of these kind of things that we sit on, where they apply for a license, and then there's also dancing, there's music, and it's outdoor or indoor. Suppose that they put a little line in there, includes belly dancing or whatever it is that people think that is entertaining, or lap dancing. Would that go through under the ordinary licensing? Suppose you thought, yeah, okay, or would it therefore, sorry, you can't put that in an application for an ordinary straightforward license, you've got to go separately.
Yeah, once we've adopted it, then they would have to go separately.
Oh, yes, they did.
If we adopt it.
If we don't,
Yes.
So it's just, but I'm sure that you've seen that one of the appendix, we're trying to do quite a comprehensive consultation document to try to explain to people the difference between the two. And we're going to make sure we put so much information on our website so people realise that yes, there is benefits to this, but there will be this almost giving up of a little bit. So we just need to make sure.
I think the advantage is disadvantage of this area, so it's a straightforward situation. Unless there are any comments, shall we take the vote? No? Okay, thank you very much indeed. We will agree? Thank you very much indeed. Let's move now to the next item, which of course is item number 8, and that is appointments of liaisons. And that's what we was by Emma Hayes.
Okay, this report is just some information. We've got the licensing committee. We'd like to see about the volumes of work with the licensing department in the last 12 months. And we're hoping that this could be a regular annual report that we could we could do. At the moment, this one is quite bare information, purely just some of the figures. But we're hoping that this is something that we can do on an annual basis, as it's interesting for all of us. I mean, the main themes of the note from the report is to show that licence applications have been quite static over the last 2 years, and to be honest, for previous years, they do remain quite static. Some applications go up, some go down. The most important thing I think of note in this is looking at the number of subcommittee hearings. We have started to reduce the number of meetings in the past 12 months. This has been something that the licensing department and the responsible authorities have actively tried to pursue to try and actually resolve issues before they get to the licensing subcommittee. Because obviously you don't want everyone to turn up on the day and then actually all agree within a few minutes and it's going to always save everyone's time. So we're trying to get resolution as it's easier for everybody. The other thing I've noticed in this is on the hearings that were sort of review appeals for subcommittee decisions. In the past 12 months there have been a handful of appeals made to committee decisions. These have all been in relation to review hearings, and in every single case the court has either upheld the licensing subcommittee decision or upheld the agreement that we've reached, the licensing department that we've reached in the meantime. So it just shows that the court is standing by the licensing committee's decisions.
So effectively what it's telling us is that the actual subcommittees are actually making some very sound decisions. It's good. It's good. Councillor.
Just a comment, Chairman. When we were first given these powers from the magistrates, those of us were absolutely inundated. So what you've said, I mean, we were told at the time we were inundated because of the change and all that. So that seems to have levelled out as we promised, which is very nice that something actually does happen, as we're told it's going to. But what do you think? I mean, I know it's a bit of a round question, but do you think it will stay more or less as it is now, or do you think it will increase as time goes on?
I think it will stay as they are now. I think the applications have levelled out. Obviously, if there's changes in legislation, which obviously we've got some quite big ones planned, then that might change the applications, numbers of applications. But I think aside from that, I think they'll stay fairly static. And I think the number going through to subcommittee will probably level out about now, because there's a number of applications. It doesn't matter how hard we work, we'll never reach agreement between the applicant and the local residents. N20 would be a great example of this. There was nothing we could do, it had to go to a subcommittee. So, but I think that we'll have to sort of correct them.
Yeah. We hope that. Oh yes,
Tiny little things. 9.4, you say there are 72 gambling premises, and I think maybe there's changed. And in your latest brief on page 64, and somewhere in here, as I glanced through this piece, it says 71. There's one been closed.
Believe it or not, yes, I only updated the system between the reports. I did wonder whether there was an inconsistency. The reports have gone, but yes, one of the premises, the surrender came in and was processed.
I read to the very end. Chairman, I read to the very end. Did you write this, Emma, this paper?
I did.
You don't know the difference between to affect and to effect. Page 69, please, 9.1, third line, which has now taken effect, please, not affect.
Yes.
Yes, and then if you turn over to the next page, 31, at 9.13, you've got a nitpicker here, I'm afraid, tonight. I used to work in this kind of third line again. Adversely affect the promotion? No, affect the promotion, surely. Have a look at between to affect and effect and the effect of things.
I've got a lot of reports in very short time.
Right. Councillor Farrer, any comment?
I was just going to say, I welcome this report. It's something I've been asking for to see exactly what we're doing. And I'm pleased about the appeals there, that we have one of the appeals. The other outcome from this that I'd be interested in is any learning points. I don't know if I could maybe update on this, if there are any learning points for the way that we deal with things from the appeals or from the things. It would be useful to have that kind of information come to this committee at some point as sort of learning exercise.
Yeah, we'd be keen if anyone wants to see anything in these reports to let us know, and we'll see what we can do. As I said, we'd hope to do this annually to try and get the information out there. So, what kind of job you're doing, these days a good job. So
We can actually read the report at the time, which I don't cancel. Shall be done. Any other comments? Councillor Brendan.
I would just like to say that obviously, this is happy to hear that we all know what we're doing. And can I say that on the time I've sat on the licensing, regardless of political divide or anything, we've all worked very well together
Absolutely right.
and made some very sensible decisions.
Absolutely right.
So I think it works very well, personally. That's
And I
comment,
think,
really.
I think it is a credit to every member of the committee that they have actually worked very hard to produce these excellent results. And it's fantastic. It's a credit to you guys. Thank you very much. Do we all agree with the report? Thank you very much indeed. Next to item number 9, and that is the license now. That's an interesting one. What do you
I suspect you'll be bored of my voice very soon. This report is obviously to sort out the scheme of delegations that we currently have in light of some changes to the Licensing Act. The first is in relation to licensing as responsible authority. I believe most of you were at the training earlier this year where we talked about the changes to the Licensing Act that has just come in. One of the key ones for our department is that licensing has been made a responsible authority. We just have to make sure that we do separate the role of licensing as a processing and impartial side to being a responsible authority and being able to put in review or being able to put in representations. We've basically, because of our small size department, it's been a little bit more difficult sorting out the delegations and making it very clear. But we've taken on board the guidance that was issued by the Home Office and come up with what we believe is the most sensible situation, that the responsibility for the responsible authority is delegated to the senior licensing officer. They receive all new applications in. If they believe that they need to make there's likely of making representations and that they will need to put the responsible authority hat on, they will immediately pass the application back to me, and I will then allocate it to an officer and take over line management of the officer from the processing side, keeping the two roles separate. So that's the one side. Obviously, we need to add this to our scheme of delegation, which is why we need to delegate this, and this report as well will help show our justification for our separation from the new channels, which is why there's quite a bit of information about it. The other little delegation we need to do was the minor variations. We haven't actually currently delegated that to the licensing department, so it was just to put that into place.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. Any comments, any questions? No? Thank you very much indeed. We move now to the extra item that was actually omitted. We didn't send it to you, but it's there. Of which we already apologize, and that is the fees and charges for the county premises. Thank you.
Just for a change. But this report is basically to amend some of the fees for the gambling premise licence applications. First thing I need to point out is there's actually an error in the report that you have in front of you. In Appendix 1, 2 of the fees have an incorrect fee. If it turns on the second page where it says transfer, the proposed fees for betting premises, track and family entertainment centre is actually only £950 because we're capped at 950 and we can't get up to the same amount as we would
The
charge.
proposed fee.
So,
The proposed fee.
the proposed fee, yeah. So that's an error that I apologise for. Basically, we're supposed to, well, we'll do every year review our gambling fees. I don't believe we put them up for since 2008. This is because we've done the review in the department and the increases or decreases have been very small. So we've kept the fees as they were. We do plan from now on, when we undertake this process and review the fees, we will always bring this to you, even if we propose not to change the fees, as we're going to be doing an annual report anyway, so we thought we'd better do the fees at the same time, so it's documented our decision-making process. In relation to the fees, there is some very minor amendments to the fees. You will see that actually the majority of fees we are reducing. This is because we've had a number of applications in recently, and it's given us a really good chance to look at these fees, and we have reduced these in line with the amount of work that goes into them. However, transfer applications we've increased substantially because, again, we've had a number of transfers come through in the last 12 months, and we've realised that they're actually almost as much work as the other applications, such as new, so we've increased those. And we also have slightly increased our annual fee, or proposing to increase our annual fee from 525 to 580. We're hoping to do more work in relation to gambling and illegal gambling this year. We've got a number of projects planned, so as a result we're increasing the fees in line with that and the additional work that we took last year. So the overall figures will result, if we have exactly the same applications and exactly the same number of premises at the end of this financial year, we will actually increase our fees from gambling from, I believe it was about £4,000.
How are the fees estimated? Are they aimed at making the department self-sufficient?
Yes, there's guidance on what exactly we can do. It's basically we work out the officer time for each application, then it includes the cost, it might cost legal, democratic services, the cost of appeals, the cost of our stationery. I mean, it's very clear what we can and can't include in the calculations that are done using it.
Councillor, you want
So how come there is maximum permit fees?
The maximum permitted fees are set by the central government. They basically, with gambling fees, they allow us to set our own fees, but they do set a maximum so that we don't go too wild, I suspect. Which hopefully we will have the same for licensing fees eventually when they finish their review of licensing fees, but at the moment it's only gambling.
Any other comments?
Just
Councillor,
just a question, Chairman. What's interested in having these set, is I really don't know how you can calculate the cost to the, well, anyway, some money comes in. How, and there's a cap, how do these fees compare with, say, fees in the borough of Camden or other boroughs? Are they much the same?
They are, yes. We do like to...
In good comparison?
Because obviously,
Right.
because we can set our own fees, we can be challenged if they are too high for the amount that it's costing us. We cannot make a profit. However, we obviously do cast a sneaky eye on other people's charges because they should all be around the same, and yes, they are.
Good, thank you very much. Any other questions? Comments?
Does it matter about the size of the big hall?
No.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much indeed, everyone. And of course, we have Google everybody. Thank you very much. And we have any other items. Discussion. This meeting is closed. I would like to thank everybody else for coming here this evening, and thank you for your input and for your contributions that you will actually make into the subcommittees. It's fantastic. Thank you.